After you have your final portrait printed out, once it's been rasterized so it has highlights, shadows, and those medium tones outlined, you're going to start by shading the back of it with a pencil. I would use a 6B pencil, so look at the little number that's on the end of it. Just because the 6B is going to be softer, so it's going to make shading a little bit easier. But when you're shading the back of the portrait, make sure that you're covering the entire page. If you do miss an area, it's going to make it a lot harder for your outline because then when you go to outline and trace it, you're going to miss out on that section. I would also recommend going across it the opposite direction, so go across it twice. That way you can make sure that every area is covered and there's no gaps or spaces that the pencil maybe missed the first time around. But take your time shading that in. When you're done, you're going to put it onto your final piece of paper that you're doing your portrait on. And I would, before you get to this step that I'm doing here, I would add tape to the top of it so that your portrait's not moving around. So just grab a little piece of tape, put it onto the top, which is what I'll do in a second. But then you notice that I was outlining the corners of my portrait. So I did that to make sure that things stay lined up. So if that tape ever did fall off, it would be hard to realign things and make sure that the outline is lined up perfectly. So I would go around to each of the four corners and just put a little outline with the pencil in the place that the paper's at. So that way it will stay in the same spot if for some reason the tape falls off or if you need to make sure that you have it adjusted and placed correctly. But afterwards I'm going across and I'm outlining each of these different areas. You'll obviously be using white paper instead of the black paper here that I'm outlining with, so it will show up a lot easier. But as you're tracing, it's transferring what you shaded on the back in pencil onto your piece of paper. So make sure that you outline every detail you can. I would start with all of the shadows, so outline all of those black areas first, move on to the gray and then the white sections last. But the more detail that you add, the better that end portrait will come out. So really look at the contour, just like the last project we did, and make sure that you're outlining the contour of every detail on that portrait. Look at all the highlights, all of the shadows, and that's going to give that extra detail to your end portrait or end result. So I'm going to skip forward a little bit, but again, as I'm clicking through this, you can see I get all of the details in the hair, all the details in the shirt. Every once in a while, lift that paper up, just double check that you have every area covered. You might miss some different sections as you're going because it's hard to see your pencil on that paper and see what you have outlined versus what you still need to outline. So again, keep checking, keep lifting that paper up so you can see which parts you might have missed and what you have to go back and outline.